Well, it's common knowledge now that a suspect is being held in the death of Tupac Shakur. And a lot of people are saying, why they arrest now? Why did they arrest him now when he was speaking out for over 5 years implicating himself? And he wasn't arrested then. And what is the motive for this man speaking out? And so now I'm going to examine all the facts. So the man in question is Keefe D. Keefe D is known as a gangster. His real name is Dwayne Keith Davis, aka Keefe D. He was born June 14, 1963. He is a member, or was a member, of the Compton Crips, Southside in California. He is now charged for first-degree murder for the killing of Tupac Shakur back in 1996. He's now 60 years old, and a lot of people are asking, well, why would this 60-year-old man, who should really just be retiring and living out the rest of his life in retirement, why would he now do the circuit and be boasting that he passed the gun to his nephew that took Tupac out? So a lot of people are questioning his motive. Did he have a falling out with Diddy? Does he want to bring Diddy down for whatever reason? He probably thought that he can continue the narrative and nobody would come get him. But I guess he had one too many interviews. So on September 29th of this year, Davis, aka Keefe D, was taken into custody by the LAPD. But back in July 17, 2023, a house owned by his wife in the nearby Henderson, Nevada area had been raided by police, and a lot of people after the raid were concerned that who was going to be arrested. And you would really think that after all this time of Tupac being unalive, that people would get rid of the evidence, right? Nope. When they raided his house in Nevada, police put out a statement that they were looking for documents related to Tupac's death. Now, when they picked up Keefe D, you can rest assured that they got evidence linking him to Tupac's death. That's why he was picked up. So guys, everything I'm saying here is alleged until it's proven to be factual. So Keefe D was taken into custody in Los Angeles on September the 29th, where he was charged with one count of murder with a deadly weapon. Keefe D had made several incriminating statements over the years, linking him to Tupac's death, because he did say that he was in a car with his nephew, Orlando, when he passed the gun to Orlando. So that's how he incriminated himself. His nephew, Orlando Anderson, died May 29th, 1998. So may God rest his soul. So now, since the police have evidence involving Keefe D, people don't know what else they got when they went to that house and raided that house. 50 Cent put out a statement advising Sean Combs to lawyer up. It's time to lawyer up, cause SHIT might get sticky. Now, why would he tell him that and put out a statement like that if he did not suspect him being involved in the unaliving of Tupac Shakur? In October of 2011, former detective of the LAPD, Craig Caden, who investigated Tupac Shakur's death, wrote a book in which he alleged that Sean Puffy Combs commissioned Keefe D to take Tupac out, and the bounty was $1 million. He alleged in his book that the $1 million was to take out Tupac as well as Suge Knight. Keefe D said he was in a car that night along with his nephew Orlando, who is now deceased. So former detective Caden is vouching for his story. He's saying Keefe D told him exactly what he said in all these interviews, that he was indeed in the car with his nephew and they took Tupac out. He implicated himself. But in the process of implicating himself, he also implicated Diddy. And you're kind of wondering, why was he not picked up? A lot of people are saying, this is word in the street, that if they had picked up Keefe D, then they got to investigate P. Diddy. And maybe P. Diddy was paying somebody in the department to not do anything about the case because he wanted to stay safe. Keefe D was boasting for years on these interviews that the LAPD is not going to do anything. Why was he so sure? Did he know they were protecting P. Diddy? Maybe there was a changing of the guard, and maybe the new guy coming in, the commissioner or whoever came in, said, okay, this case has got to be wrapped up. It's not a cold case because one of the detectives wrote a book, and he finger point who paid to get the unaliving of Tupac. So it's not a cold case. We got the evidence. Why was this guy not picked up? You got a person who's out there every year making and giving interviews that he passed the gun to his nephew, who is now deceased, but he's still alive. Why was he not picked up? So the case is now open again. So word on the street is he did that much talking. Keefe D did a lot of talking to get arrested so he can implicate Diddy. This is word on the street. So it's alleged that Keefe D is dying of cancer and he has nothing to lose at this point. For some reason, when people are at the end stage of life, he don't look like if he's at the end stage to me, but I don't know his diagnosis and how far gone is his cancer, if he has cancer. But when people have that type of diagnosis, they oftentimes want to confess. But I don't see him confessing just for the sake of getting into the pearly gates, because he got a whole lot of other stuff to confess about. Because after all, all these years he's been a member of the Crips. And so I'm sure there were a lot more unalivement that he was involved with, allegedly. So it would be a long list of confessions to get into the pearly gates. I don't see that angle. What I see is that maybe he wanted to even the score with Diddy, and this is why he kept confessing that he passed the gun, because he knew if they had hauled him in and arrested him, then the whole story would come out on who actually put out the hit on. And this is the only way he could have done it, since he's at it. He's lived a long life. He's 60. How much more does he have left? So he figured he can do the time. He just wants to bring Diddy down. So he had an interview with Vlad concerning just being in prison for the first time, and also what he thought about the whole system. And this is what he had to say.
I mean, in prison, homosexuality is viewed a little bit differently. You know what I mean? Like some dudes in prison feel that if a punk gives them head, they're not really gay. You know what I mean? Like, you're only gay if you get fucked. Like, you know what I'm saying? But, so I mean, in prison, were you seeing a lot of gay things happening?
When I first went, you a crib, like, I first hit the yard. So, it's this dude that killed, like, 8 dudes from our neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? He was the quarterback of Dominguez and everything. So, I hit the yard. My homie, like, let's take some pictures. I had this other dude named Boone. They was both from my neighborhood and shit. So I'm taking pictures with them. We whoop, 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 doing the prison poses.
Right.
So the Crips over there looking. Soon as I finished taking the pictures, they like, go take a lap with me. So I took a lap with him. They's like, man, why you taking pictures with them dudes? I said, man, that's my homeboys from Southside. He said, man, that ain't your homeboys no more. I'm like, what you mean? He said, well, that one, his name Mitch Bitch. I'm like, what?
Mitch Bitch.
Bitch. I'm like, what? That's your homegirl. I'm like, damn. And the other one, he like, and that dude, the BGF, he ain't no Crip no more. Can't fuck with them dudes like that no more, dude. Like, damn, he said they ain't your homeboys no more, the Crips. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn. So prison, yeah. And back then, if you fuck with a homosexual, you just as gay as them, you know what I'm saying? That's some bullshit. Crips, you shun from the Crip car for sure. They on your ass.
So there were no gay Crips, officially.
It was gay Crips, but
you got accepted with the other Crips, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because
it was just one motherfucker named Cotton. She was a bad motherfucker. Had hands like a motherfucking man, but she was a man though. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So transgender.
Yeah, transgender. Yeah, Cotton. They tried to throw like 2 or 3 on each yard back then.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard horror stories. Like, I remember I interviewed Life Jennings recently, and he was telling me, he was locked up for a while.
Yeah.
And he was saying how, like, there was this one dude that was in prison with him, and he had this routine where he would act, like, weak. He would act like he was, like, weak and frail, whatever, and he would, like, have dudes thinking that they could take advantage of him and everything else like that until they would drop their guard, then he would rape them.
I ain't gonna say no names, and it was a nigga that used to pretend like he was weak. Like, would literally let people suck him. Like, take his food and do shit like that because he wanted people to think that he was weak so he could lure them somewhere and then rape them. That was his shit.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that type of weird shit. Or, I remember this dude, China Max, told me a story about how, like, like in prison, your ass is called your trunk. That's where you would, hide drugs or weapons or whatever. And he was saying how, like, if someone found out that you had drugs in your ass, they would knock you out, pull your pants down, and then reach in there and grab the drugs out your ass and then go do the drugs.
Not in Cali, man. Not in Cali, though.
I mean, it just sounds crazy. Like, it's just, what I'm saying? Like, it's a crazy world. I mean, so you're saying that type of shit wasn't happening when you were locked up?
When I first went in Tracy, my counselor said, "Man, you going to Chino, CMC?" Like, yeah. So they used to put where your destination on the board that week. And that's what was said. DVI level 3. I'm like, damn, this my first time in prison. So my points was high, so they sent me there. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared. I had fear. But once I got there, shit, all my crip partners was there, you know what I'm saying? It was a crip heaven for us, It was our yard. Yeah, like a mother. It was like 3,600 inmates there. 1,800 of them was crips. Yeah,
half the yard was crips.
Yeah, that shit was ours, yeah.
And Detective Greg Caden said the same thing in his book. He alleged that both of these men, Keefe D as well as Orlando Anderson, the nephew, was in that BMW, and Anderson fired the shot that took Tupac out. Now, this was a cop, an LAPD former detective who was investigating the murder who said this, and yet they did not arrest Keefe D. And this man was making these type of statements for over 5 years, saying that he passed the gun to his nephew, Orlando Anderson. Why was he not arrested? Guys, if you're coming on to the page, hit the like bell, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as yet. It could be maybe they did not have the evidence. They wanted to go by more than just hearsay, because if they had picked him up and he said he was the one who passed the gun and then later recanted his statement and said he was confused and he had amnesia and all of this, then they would have to let him go without any evidence. They wanted evidence. So they raided that house in Nevada and they got the evidence that they need because they seized a whole lot of different things in the home, including a computer, cell phones, etc., with evidence on it. And a lot of people are saying, well, how come they didn't do this 10 years ago? Well, maybe they didn't know what house to go to 10 years ago. Maybe they got a tip to go to this particular house out there in Nevada and they're going to get whatever they need. Maybe it was an inside tip-off. And then again, maybe they're just ready to take P. Diddy down. Maybe he's the one that they were really after. Keefe D is just an instrument to get to P. Diddy because they know he was the one who put out the bounty, this $1 million, on Tupac's head, allegedly. So a lot of people were wondering, why did Davis, Keefe D, confess? Maybe this is one of the reasons. On July the 2nd, 2018, Davis, also known as Keefe D, revealed that he was dying of cancer. He went on to say that he was present. A lot of other people are saying that's not the real reason. The real reason is maybe because Diddy stiffed him this $1 million that he was supposed to get. And through some middleman, they're saying the middleman took the $1 million and it never got to Keefe D. And Diddy never made it right. And so it could be that's the reason why he started to say that he was in the car and he was paid $1 million by Diddy to take out Tupac, because he wanted to get even with Diddy and take him down. This is what a lot of people are alleging currently. So 50 Cent came out and made a statement. Well, he dropped a line, a note, and he pretty much said, lawyer up, Diddy, lawyer up. This SHIT is about to get sticky. He refused to name the other suspects in the car because it was alleged there were about 4 people in that car. The only thing that he acknowledged was that his nephew, Orlando Anderson, was the shooter, and that it was out of retaliation for getting jumped at the MGM Grand earlier, and that Puffy paid him $1 million. Well, promised him $1 million bounty on Tupac's head. That's the only thing he acknowledged. So reportedly, Davis told the authorities this, that Combs offered him $1 million to kill Suge Knight and Tupac. Suge Knight was head of Tupac's career at the time. He was head of the music label that Tupac was signed under, and the name of that label is Death Row Records. So when Diddy got wind of it, he said the claim was pure fiction and completely ridiculous. So on October the 4th, 2023, Davis, aka Keefe D, appeared in court for the first time, asking the judge to delay his arraignment until he retained counsel, until he gets a lawyer. A lot of people have been saying that P. Diddy have gotten out of a lot of scrapes in the past, and this one also he's going to get out of. But I don't know, when somebody implicates you in a murder for hire, then it becomes very, very sticky. Keefe D did say Diddy was involved because they're calling Diddy the Teflon Don. And we know what happened to the Teflon Don, okay? Sometimes you run out of your 9 lives and you got to pay the piper. Sometimes you run out of luck. And we don't know if this time around Diddy has run out of luck. Depending on the evidence that they seized at that Nevada house, we're going to see how it plays out in the courtroom. But according to Yahoo, an inside source told the outlet that Keefe D felt as though the police were never going to take action against him because it had been 2 decades that he had been boasting about how he passed the gun to his nephew and nothing was done. He wasn't taken into custody because he was an accessory to this murder, and so he felt as though they were never going to do anything. After all, it had been about 20 years. So Yahoo reported that Keefe D had just a lot of confidence, unusual level of confidence, and he often claimed that the police isn't going to do SHIT. Some may say that he was overly confident, and this is why he bragged for years about passing the gun to his nephew, Orlando Anderson, without having any fear, because there was something that he had on the police. This is what I'm thinking. But whenever he was asked if he was fearful of being arrested by talking about his passing the gun, he would say, they ain't gonna do nothing. So according to the news outlets, his arrogance and foolish attitude and lack of knowledge of the law caused him to be arrested. So Radar Online reported that Sean Diddy was long rumored to have been involved in Tupac's September 1996 slaying in Los Angeles. Radar Online repeated the same thing that Craig Keedan, this detective, said. According to this LAPD detective, Greg Keedan, Diddy allegedly hired Crips gang to take Tupac out. So a lot of people were saying the same thing for years, but there was no evidence. Until now, allegedly. We know there have to be some type of evidence for Keefe D to have been arrested. The question is he going to take Sean Combs with him, or is he just going to do the time by himself? Because he's already 60. You're talking a life sentence. Even if they give him 10 years, that's a life sentence because 70 years old. if he got 10 or even 20 years, how long would he have to live after that? Not much longer. So that's like a life sentence, 10, 20 years. And if he got more than that, then definitely he's dying in prison. So about 2 months ago, Keefe D put out a statement in an interview that he did, another interview. And he said, I would have never been involved in this BS, this bull, if I'd never met Diddy. So according to page 6, Keefe D now faces first-degree murder for the assassination of Tupac. According to Radar Online, Keefe D was in the car with Orlando Anderson, when Anderson shot at Tupac and Suge Knight on September 7th, 1996 in LA. He further went on to say, we just pulled up at a stoplight. They were making a right and there was about 17 cars, a car van. Keefe D said he and his nephew pulled up in the gutter lane. After the first shot rang out, Suge Knight ducked his head. The first bullet went into Tupac's head and the next one hit. Clearly, Tupac was trying to get away, like if he was trying to get to the back seat. So authorities raided Keefe D's Los Angeles home in July and arrested him for first-degree murder. And everyone is wondering, is this the beginning of the end for P. Diddy? If he is implicated and involved in any way, then his empire is going to come down if there's any evidence of his involvement. And this is a little sidebar that Tupac is still being honored and revered because on June the 7th, 2023, there was a ceremony honoring Tupac with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on June 7, 2023 in Los Angeles, California. So I guess this cold case, this unsolved case is coming to a close with the arrest of Keefe D. Now, the question is, who killed Biggie? Now everybody's calling for that case to be solved. So Davis has long been linked with Shakur's death. It was rumored that either he did it or his nephew. But before his nephew Anderson died, he denied any involvement in the unaliving of Tupac. But 2 years later, he died in an unrelated shooting in Compton, California. So details from the warrant obtained by the Associated Press shows detectives collected multiple computers, cell phone, documents, a Vibe magazine that featured Tupac, several .40 caliber bullets, 2 tubs containing photographs, as well as a copy of the 2019 book that Keefe D wrote, his memoir. And the name of the book is Compton Street Legend. So that fateful night, 25-year-old Tupac was traveling with Suge Knight in a black BMW with a convoy with about 10 cars headed to a nightclub. After watching Mike Tyson knock out Bruce Seldon in a championship match at the MGM Grand. But prior to that, they were involved in a fight at the hotel with Anderson and his people. It looked like if Tupac and Suge Knight got the best of Anderson and beat him up. And so this hit was in retaliation of that. One person opened fire, riddling the passenger side of Suge Knight's car with bullets. So according to the police, sitting in the passenger side, Shakur was shot at least 4 times, at least twice in the chest. Suge Knight was grazed by a bullet fragment, so he was wounded, but it was not serious. Tupac was then rushed to the hospital where he died 6 days later. So now here is Truth Talk telling us his angle.
If you know anything about how the music industry works, then you should already know it's a crooked industry. The things that happen behind the scenes will make the average person second guess being a part of this industry. Time and time again, we see examples of just how sinister the music business truly is. It's alarming what some of these artists have to do to make it to the very top with all that power and fame. In this industry, you only get far by showing your loyalty to the gatekeepers. Everybody knows that the industry is controlled by gatekeepers, and if for whatever reason you try to go against them, not only is your career over, but in some cases, so is your existence. Joining the music business is a lot like joining the mob. You can make a lot of money if you do as you're told, but the moment you don't want to comply, or the mob boss doesn't like you anymore, you're out of here. This is what the hip-hop gatekeepers are known for, controlling the industry and eliminating anyone who they feel threatens their power. One of the industry's most powerful gatekeepers is no other than the hip-hop mogul Puffy Sean Diddy Combs. He is one of the most successful men hip-hop has ever witnessed. Diddy has been running the game since the 90s and is tied to one of hip-hop's most legendary rappers, Biggie Smalls. This cemented Diddy as hip-hop royalty early on, which eventually led the way for him to become one of the most powerful gatekeepers in hip-hop. Diddy is one of the few men who can break or make a person's career. He is also one of those gatekeepers who is known for allegedly getting rid of anyone who threatens his power. Diddy likes to play dirty. He is willing to do anything to maintain his power and to keep things the way he wants them to be. Something Diddy has been allegedly doing since the 90s and still going on to this day. If you have been on social media for the last few days, then you should already know that after 27 years, a man has finally been arrested in connection with the murder of Tupac Shakur. Tupac, who was one of the 90s biggest rap stars, was taken out back in September 1996 after being ambushed in a drive-by style attack after leaving the Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas. For the longest, the story was that Tupac was taken out because him and his spotted during the Mike Tyson boxing match and had a previous beef with. After Orlando got jumped, he got his uncle Keefe D and two others to jump in a vehicle and hunt down Tupac. They quickly spotted him, and that's when they unloaded into his BMW, taking Tupac out. This was the story that most people believed. Tupac was taken out because he was trying to be a tough guy with some real gang members. But was this really ever the reason? For 27 years, the police weren't able to make an arrest of any of those responsible for his passing. But just a few days ago, that all changed. A couple days back, Keefe D was arrested for his involvement in the crimes against Tupac Shakur. After it appeared the case was forgotten in time, and those responsible would never seek justice, this all changed when Keefe D was taken into custody. Like I already mentioned, Keefe D was the uncle of Orlando Anderson, who is believed to be the person who took Tupac out. Orlando Anderson passed away a while back, which kept them from being arrested for the crimes. Keefe D, on the other hand, is still alive, and he was in the car when Orlando took Tupac out, and according to him, was the one who handed Orlando the piece used to take Tupac out. Keefe D, for the last decade, has been doing interviews, revealing interesting information about the truth about what happened to Tupac. What Keefe D has said has gotten him arrested 27 years later, something he avoided years back by working out a deal with the police when he revealed Orlando Anderson took out Tupac. He also revealed that even though a fight had broken out that night between Orlando and Pac, they decided to take Tupac out for an alternative reason. According to Keefe D, the real reason they decided to eliminate Tupac that night was because there was $1 million bounty on Pac's head, a bounty that was allegedly put on by no other than the gatekeeper P. Diddy himself. According to Keefe D, who was connected to Diddy because his Crip gang worked as his security in LA, Diddy offered Keefe D $1 million, which is equivalent to about $2 million in today's money, to eliminate Tupac. Keefe D also claims that someone allegedly connected to Diddy was the one who gave him the piece used on Pac the same night Pac was taken out. There are a few reasons people think Diddy wanted Pac out the picture. One being the obvious fact that Biggie and Tupac were rivals at that time. Two being that Pac allegedly was messing around with one of Diddy's baby mothers, Sarah Chapman. According to Keefe D, who mentioned this in many interviews, Diddy allegedly called them after Pac was taken out, asking him if that was their work. Basically, he was asking if Tupac was taken out because of his alleged bounty. It is believed that afterwards, Diddy allegedly paid out the money through the middleman who gave Keefe D the piece that night. This middleman then took the money for himself, leaving Keefe D with no payment for the job. This angered Keefe D, who now has a vendetta with Diddy, as he feels Diddy never took care of him for doing the job. What Keefe D revealed has been echoed by many other people around the situation as well. Diddy's ex-bodyguard said the same thing, and so did Suge Knight's bodyguard. Even the detective Craig Kading, who was investigating the case back then, said the same exact thing. Keefe D has been doing interviews for the last decade, snitching on himself, knowing he can get arrested for it. People think Keefe was only doing this because he thought he had immunity in the case, which he didn't. He signed a proffer agreement that allowed him to speak on his knowledge of the crime that happened to Tupac on that night. This agreement would protect him from being prosecuted against for anything he stated that would have incriminated him during the interview. Keefe D never had immunity, and I don't think it's the reason he has been snitching on himself. I believe Keefe D is just mad and bitter over the fact that Diddy is now a billionaire and is on top of the world, while he's lost everything and is now in his last decades of his life with nothing to show for it. I believe he wanted to go down just so that he can take Diddy with him. Now is that we're really going to see the power of Diddy. If he doesn't get arrested just like Keefe D, you already know why. I believe Keefe D has been trying to snitch on Diddy this entire time. For the last decade, Keefe D has pointed fingers, elbows, and even toes in Diddy's direction, repeatedly telling multiple outlets Diddy paid millions of dollars for the hit. For whatever reason, now is that something is happening, but why? Could this have anything to do with Diddy turning on those above him? Recently, in June 2023, Diddy got into a disagreement with the owners of the liquor brand Ciroc, a brand that Diddy has been the face of for as long as I can remember. In June, Diddy sued the owners of Ciroc for racial discrimination after he claimed they treated his liquor brand, De Leon, like an inferior black brand. Since then, the two have had a massive fallout, which has cost Diddy hundreds of millions of dollars. Isn't it strange that now that Diddy is locked in a legal battle with the owners of Ciroc, Keefe D got arrested for a crime that Diddy is being connected to? What a coincidence, ain't it? After all these years, even though Keefe D was straight up snitching on himself and Diddy for the entire time, this just so happens to be the year he gets picked up for it. The same year the elite above Diddy are having trouble keeping him in his place. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. If Diddy does finally get taken in and questioned for this, then you know why. Those above him are getting him out of the way for not falling in line. If Diddy miraculously solves his issues with Ciroc and never gets picked up by the police, it means he fell back in place. We know the elite like holding things over people's heads they can use when they fall out of line. What all of this revealed to me is that Diddy is definitely a gatekeeper who doesn't have issues with eliminating his problems.
So guys, drop your comments. What do you think about Keefe D being arrested? Is it going to stick? Is he going to bring down Diddy and his empire? Drop it in the comments. I'm over and out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.